And we are back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Joe Soro coming right back at you here on the Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We would truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all our great shows. If you can give us a 5-star review, if there's something higher than a 5, that would be good too. Wherever you get your podcast, of course. Plus, if you can like, subscribe, follow, or do whatever you can to support us right here. We're growing like a symbiote on Spider-Man or, Eddie Brock, I don't know. Whichever one you think it is. Shout out to my good friends at the LakersBall.com. Haven't been spending a lot of time out there because I spent a lot of time here. So you guys that are listening and watching, yes, there seems to be some jealousy lurking on the other side. I'm going to have to start, figuring out how I'm going to balance this out. With us today, I think Gerald might be coming in soon, but Sean Grice is here, the madman from Toronto. Obviously, some of you have been on the playback here tonight. Thank you for joining us on playback. I don't know if you've been dealing with a lot of traffic lately, Sean. It seems like you're always available. So I don't know if that moniker is going to work anymore. I think your availability is pretty good. But nonetheless, we have entered an interesting moment here in the Lakers season. So we had discussed, I believe a few days ago, that we were looking at what the prognosis of the rest of the season was going to look like. And some of my dialogue was kind of around the fact that if we were going to lose a game, it would be one of these games. Now, I initially thought it was going to be this game if you had to lose one. Why? For those of you who weren't listening or remember, it's an East team. We don't want to lose 2 games for every loss against the likely teams that we play that are fighting for a playoff spot, right? So I was anticipating a split and then having to win out after that. That's kind of where I stand on it still. It's just I thought it would be reversed. So the Lakers came into Chicago, and I thought something was kind of fishy. And usually I don't look at the lines, but I thought something was kind of fishy that the Lakers were on the road, a team that is still under 500 at that point until tonight or the end of tonight's game, that they would be favored against a team that's actually been playing pretty well. So the Lakers beat the Bulls and pretty much had this game in hand other than that, little hiccup in the second quarter. They came out in the third quarter, not like they're used to doing, which is, playing like crap. They actually played really well and created a distance. And then the fourth quarter was just essentially letting the lead, go as long as it could before the game was over. So the Lakers beat the Bulls in Chicago, 121-110. Anthony Davis and his homecoming produced 38 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks. I know there had been some issues with AD and getting blocks. It's nice to see that he actually had a block. Now, an interesting stat besides AD, I'd say AD was probably the player of the game. However, you could also say that D'Angelo Russell was the player of the game because his plus minus was plus 35, and he played 36 minutes. So for those of you who, and we're all in this, didn't understand how important D'Angelo Russell is. I know some of you have been listening to every show and you've heard me say this guy needs to play. Well, when you got a LeBron that's not coming into his first game after 3 weeks, who's kind of focused, LeBron played very well tonight. You also have a D'Angelo Russell and an AD doing their thing. This is what's going to happen, guys, because this is a totally different game. So, Sean, I don't know what happened other than maybe motivation, maybe that it's that game where the Lakers seem to play like juggernauts, and then the next game they don't. But the Lakers do win tonight and are set now for only a Western Conference play, basically only Western Conference play to see if these guys can actually catch the 6th seed and avoid the play-in and actually get a playoff spot, and could get a very favorable round there, either with right now it's looking like it's probably going to be Sacramento. Playing Sacramento in the first round, which could be something that could be a very, very big interest for the NBA.
Yeah, Joe. Considering the fact that so first of all, Eddie Brock and Venom is cooler than Peter Parker and Spider-Man. First, let's just get that out of the way. Venom is cooler than Spider-Man.
You're right, and I actually, one of my aspirations in the 2000s was to be Eddie Brock. Now Eddie Brock was 6'3", 240 in the comic book. In the 2000s, I was 6'3", 240. He was a Catholic boy. I'm Catholic. And I love the black, right? The only thing is he had blonde hair. So I'd say, hey, I can put blonde on my hair if I have to.
Oh, yeah. Like Venom was so much cooler than Spider-Man. It's not even funny.
Sure. My license plate says Black Venom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I've always had black trucks. It's just kind of what I do. Hats off to the advertisement in Back to the Future, the first one. It worked, guys. I've bought 3 of them, 3 Toyota black trucks. So yeah, that's the guy I wanted to play desperately, and then Topher Grace got the role in part 3 and completely dashed my dreams. But
yeah, I like Tom Hardy's version better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But getting back to the game. Yeah, it almost felt like it was a reverse from the previous matchup. Like the Lakers basically had an arm's length lead. It seemed like throughout wire to wire almost. They jumped out to that quick 27-13 lead, peeked my head in there. Now, normally if the Lakers are up and I'm not on playback in the first quarter, I'd like to not jump in because I don't want to mess with the juju. It's just my own personal hang up. But for the most part, I thought it was just a productive game, Joe. They basically, it was certain players played very well and then other players did not. One thing that does concern me is that since Austin Reaves has been brought to the starting lineup, which eventually should have happened, we're not getting any production from the bench. I need more than 0-0-0 from Troy Brown Jr., Wendy and Gabriel, and Malik Beasley. For God's sakes, if Beasley's not even willing to catch and shoot and do that, sit him. I'd rather give the minutes to Lonnie Walker or Devon Reed, to be perfectly honest with you. But other than that, AD had a great homecoming. You're right. LeBron looked like he was hitting his mid-range stride, which seems to bode well for us. And other than that, it just seemed like they just pulled their heads out of their keisters, like you said, Joe, and showed up. And now we don't know what we're going to get on Friday.
Yeah, it's, I'm going to, Juan had a comment at the beginning of the show. By the way, hi, Juan. Nice. Thank you for being here. Juan had mentioned that Darvin Ham was driving him nuts in the first quarter. And I have to admit, that's actually when I was kind of going nuts a little bit on Darvin Ham. I still don't understand why he keeps taking out AD and LeBron. There has to be some analytical thing going on there. He cannot be that clueless. Maybe I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, and I shouldn't, but I don't understand. Why the hell are you sitting both? Stop doing that. There's enough minutes. You have enough. You have enough. Okay. You have enough talent now to where you can have one of them in there. Okay. And maintain leads and not have to deal with stuff. But for some reason, his rotations, and they've been like this all year. And I understand it's a rookie coach, but you're supposed to show some kind of improvement at some point. and he's actually getting worse with his rotations. He's winning off of guys playing astronomically well. AD was an absolute wrecking machine tonight, and D'Lo gave us that mid-range game that I just love, when you can scare him off. You can kind of see like they're scared off the 3-point line, but what ends up happening is he ends up getting up a few feet and then hitting the mid-range, and it's nothing but net. And that bothers teams, because at that point they're not as aggressive going after the three at that point. And then LeBron, he just looked like he had that LeBron look, and he was just making plays like he should. And I think that was, that part obviously is going to be the most important part in terms of winning games, but he's not helping when things don't go well. That's the issue here. So if we had to pinpoint to why Darvin Ham, if we had to give an example besides just saying he doesn't have good rotations, is he doesn't have a feel for the game. He doesn't have a pulse to it. He has his hands in his pocket. I love putting my hands in my hoodie, the pockets. But you know when I do that? When I'm looking at the stars and I'm looking at the sun and I'm just daydreaming. Okay? When you go do something, you're not sitting there with your hands in your pockets. What are you doing? Like, that is the most lazy. That's for lazy moments and daydreaming, not on a court where you're trying to run a basketball team. So it's
also a sign of fidgetiness, Joe, and uncomfortability, unconfident, having your hands in your pocket. It's true. It's all about body language. We've seen it all year. He's got his hands in his pockets. He's to me, it's almost like if you had the brain of a human being. Like, we're all human beings, but it feels like his brain is it's zombified when it comes to actually watching the game and figuring out what kind of game you're into, what kind of pace you need, what kind of rotation management you might need. It's almost like he's a zombie when it comes to game management.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I know that some of us come off as negative even after a win like this, and the Lakers pretty much dominated this game all the way through, except for parts of that second quarter. But that's my point, guys, is there's no reason. It's one thing to lose a 6 or 7 point lead. It's another to continue to lose a 15 and 17 point lead. Now, I know the NBA is what it is, but it's direct effects. Okay. If it's AD and LeBron out there and you lose the lead, I got nothing against that. Okay. That's not the coach's fault. That's the Lakers not doing their thing. But when you deliberately keep making the same mistake over and over again and costing your team large leads, that's what drains your players. That's what drains the stars, because you're not setting them up to win and continue to have that momentum throughout an entire game. It's just not good basketball. It's not good basketball for a lot of reasons. And number one, your coaching is going to be exposed in the playoffs in a way that you've never seen. Darvin Ham is a rookie coach, so he's never seen that. He could get destroyed, okay, by Coach Brown in Sacramento should they play them in the playoffs, right? I mean, if you get clowned by Coach Brown, you are going to look even worse, because we saw what happened to him when he was in LA. Kind of mimics it in a certain way, especially with how that ended.
Yeah,
but
he's won his fair share of playoff series though as a coach. I mean, he did have LeBron in Cleveland, but regardless, he's not a fool. And I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's once you get into the playoffs, it's another level. And we said this before, we'll say it again, and we'll keep repeating it because truisms never die. They're like steel, stand the test of time. The defense not only gets better the deeper you go in the playoffs, the coaching gets better too. Like, if Joe was right. If you're a rookie coach, or you're still green around the gills, you will get eaten alive eventually. It happens. Unfortunately, like as an example, Taylor Jenkins got punked by Utah, but then he ends up punking Minnesota and Chris Finch, but then Monty Williams punks him. It's just the further along we go, and especially with if a head coach has a more defensive reputation, like a Monty Williams or like a Coach Bud, it gets harder and harder to beat them the further and further you go, and the deeper and deeper you get into a 7-game series. You're getting more into the weeds there because you don't have to focus on a different team for a week or 10 days. You get the same team. So you know them and they know you. And that doesn't bode well for us right now, guys, at least optically, because we don't see Darvin Ham making the kind of jumps that you need a rookie head coach to make with a LeBron and an AD if you're trying to win a championship.
Very, very true, Sean. Again, the Lakers win tonight, 121-110. The out-of-town scoreboard wasn't too kind today. I know Dallas lost to Philadelphia, 116-108. Unfortunately, Utah won 128-117 over San Antonio. That's no surprise. Kind of a bummer that Oklahoma City won by 1 point, 107-106 against Detroit. Right now, Minnesota's playing Phoenix. They're in the second quarter with 9:16 left in the second. Portland is playing Sacramento. Portland's probably out, so at this point, that doesn't really matter. But the Lakers did play well tonight, and I know I wanted to start off with a little bit of Darvin Ham because I wanted to get that out of the way, and I don't want to talk about him the rest of the way if I don't have to. Let's talk about the positives of tonight's game and why players that have skills are important to have playing. So I'll start with D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, when it comes to a game like this is where his value is all the way up. Okay. You have a guy like LeBron James who's on. You have AD who's on. And then when you have what could possibly be the third star in D'Angelo Russell who's on, and he looked like he wasn't even trying and he was effective. That is the foundation of this thing. You make that work. And then everything else around, the Beasleys, the Vanderbilts, the Ruiz, we've been going back and forth on what the Lakers are going to do in the future, this summer, whatever. Bottom line is, guys, we have a little bit of a core here. And I want them to continue to play together and well and have some kind of momentum and system that way in case one or two have to go out, it's not that difficult to kind of cover that, which again, that's going to come down to coaching. But when these guys are on, and if you ask me going into the playoffs, let's say we were fortunate enough to get a 6 seed, right? If we're going there with a healthy LeBron, AD, and D'Lo and the surrounding cast, and of course I haven't even mentioned Austin Reaves yet, you have that core that's healthy, okay? We're going to know that at the very least the talent is going to suffice. At that point, strategy against the better coaches and the teams that have a lot of talent as well, that is going to be the identifier in where the mistakes are. We're going to know very, very quickly who's making the mistakes. Why is this guy not in the lineup? Why is this guy out of the lineup? Why aren't you sitting this guy? Why aren't you playing this setup versus that setup? We're going to find out probably in a couple weeks here, Sean, what the Lakers will be once they hit the playoffs, because I think it's starting to look like they're probably going to make the play-in. And if they get out of the play-in, then it's going to be, are they going to get the 8 or the 7? And if they get the 7, Memphis is playing really well right now. Now I'm starting to get worried about Memphis. So I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, Joe. But just to piggyback off what you were saying about D'Lo, so he's played a little under 350 minutes so far as Laker. In those minutes, he's a plus 81. He was a plus 35 tonight. That was a game high. He's shooting 47% from the field as a Laker and a hair under 40% from three, 39.6. He's averaging 18 points a game and almost 6.5 assists on only 2 turnovers a game, Joe. So all his numbers have ticked up as a Laker than where he was as a Timberwolf. And he, like you said, he's basically he's the straw. Yeah, like outside of LeBron and AD, when if D'Angelo Russell is humming and cooking with his shot, it seems like everything else kind of to fall in line. Like everybody seems to adapt to the roles. Um, I guess more fluidly than previously. Like when we had our previous iteration of this team with Russ, it just you wouldn't expect that, but it just seems like everything's falling into its right place when he gets going. So it's been positive. I'd bring him back for sure. Like those minutes, he's almost a plus 100 in the almost 400 minutes you have him. So like it's a different D'Angelo Russell than when he left us. I like this one. He's more mature. He's got better instincts. His touch passes are a lot cleaner than they were when he was with the Lakers. He's not turning the ball over when he's not shooting well. Either or. When he is, he's not. When he's not, he's not. So that's a plus. I would definitely bring him back. I definitely think that Malik Beasley at this point, Joe, needs to sit. I wouldn't like if he's going to give you 0-0-0 continually off the bench, I would just have Lonnie Walker take his minutes.
I'd be curious to see if they've devised any kind of plays for Beasley. Now that LeBron has come back, my common sense factored in that there's a possibility that you could maybe get him into some kind of rhythm with someone like LeBron giving him the ball and setting up some plays for him so you can build up his confidence. It's obvious his confidence is the issue here because his shot usually looks good out of his hand, but he just isn't making them on a regular basis. And it might just be a cold streak right now. And it might benefit the Lakers to a degree here because if you go into the offseason, I know the easy reaction is to say, well, we're not going to bring him back. Well, shooters sometimes are like relief pitchers. And relief pitchers can come out of nowhere and just dominate, right, for a year. And then the following year, they completely just blow games and then come back the following year and they're back at it again. They're very staggered since that's kind of the word we've been using here with the lineups that Darvin Ham's making. So I would look at this as a benefit in two directions because you have a lot of talent. You have a lot of coming up talent, I should say, talent like Vanderbilt, guys like Rui, that you guys can't expect these guys to be superstars. Again, if they were superstars, they wouldn't be here. So you have to be very calculating and have to understand the roles and where you could put these guys and what would benefit. So in the long run, I think this is a win-win situation for the Lakers. If Beasley turns into Glenn Rice in his prime at the right moment of the playoffs, that becomes a positive, right? If he doesn't, you might be able to bring him back at a much lesser cost because I like Beasley. I think he's a young guy. You want to invest in some young guys that can shoot. He just happens to not be making shots now. So you're going to win either way in my book. Once that's done, we'll kind of address it in the offseason when it does come. But look at it from that perspective. I think that's going to be very important for that particular situation. Now, going from D'Angelo Russell to AD, let's say. AD played AD ball tonight. I mean, and what was great too is he was a little bit better from the line. He went 11 of 14 from the line. He even hit a three. So I'm hoping that's one of the big things for me is I'm hoping that he can fix that little that last free throw he shot. I love that ceiling shot. Love that ceiling shot because as soon as you saw the ball go right, you knew that sucker was gone. I think they need to show that camera angle on free throws more. I think that's kind of cool. But other than that free throw, everything else looked pretty good. So I'm hoping he can get that out of his crawl a little bit before the playoffs. But he was absolutely phenomenal on offense and had the touch tonight. And I was glad to see that. And with AD going to LeBron, not a bad way to come back on your second game and look like a pretty darn good LeBron. And it was nice to see LeBron play 31 minutes. I would have liked 29. 29 is the number I'm always looking at, but 31 minutes. I'm going to give Darvin Ham a little bit of credit there, where thank you for not playing LeBron too much. 31 minutes will work, especially when you win a game on the road against a good team, or at least been playing well lately, by double digits. So props to LeBron and props to Darvin on that one.
100% props. 100% props out. And before we do anything else, Mr. Soro, let's get this out of the way right now. So this is a Bronx cheer for one Pat Beverley. You smarmy, jive-talking turkey neck bum. You are a minus 32 tonight. 0 points. 0-5 from the field. And Austin Reaves hit you with the too small, didn't he? And that was your worst nightmare, right, Pat? That the 6'5" white boy puts the too small. So the Bronx cheer for Pat Bev. You weren't the spoon tonight, brother. You were a fork. And now there's too much beef to get that fork out now, brother.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy talking smack, played 25 minutes for a donut. All that for a donut? What does this mean? Maybe we should do this a little bit more for Mr. Patrick Beverley. I'm caught between wanting to give that Nimrod attention and also liking the fact that we're clowning him a little bit.
Well,
but
he put up a donut today, so
yeah, he's the Brian Scalabrine of this era. He's the guy that's always like raw, 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 and I'm like, dude, you're like the 10th guy on the team. They're playing you because for some weird reason he's got everyone in this hypnosis that he's this locker room veteran. My favorite line. He's the guy you hate when he's when he's not on your team, but when he's on your team, you love him. No. I hate him now. I hate him before, and I'll always hate him. Hate him on the court. I'm sure he's a nice guy off the court. Maybe not, but point is, I don't think he merits any attention. Absolutely, in any way. He's a scrub player who has no business talking. He should be on the bench, shouldn't be playing, especially scoring 0 points. And we remember Pat Bev very well as a Laker. He was maybe good for about 3 weeks where he was hitting some threes. Other than that, he's been absolutely dog doo-doo. So that's the extent of my Pat Bev assessment. Again, I don't want to give attention to someone who doesn't deserve the attention. At this point, the Lakers are well and beyond the previous regime. I have forgotten those past players, and so quickly I don't even remember them being Lakers in a lot of ways. I don't even recollect them. It's just that like Westbrooks and all that. It's like a distant memory. But the Lakers do come up on top tonight. They get back to 500. They are 17-20 on the road, which for a team that's been playing 500 ball, that's not too bad. The problem there is that means they're not playing really well at home either. So, but it is relevant, especially right now, because the next 4 games are also on the road, and they're all must-wins. So can the Lakers, now that they've busted through to the 500 mark again, can they bust through above 500 on the road? Well, guess what? They have 4 games right now where they can do that. So if I'm Darvin Ham, I'm going to the locker room again. Hey guys, we're going to be traveling a lot more. We're going to be traveling as the 3 home team. We're never going to have 4 home games in this playoff run, right? So we're playing well on the road. Why don't we at least end this season on a good note and come up 21-20 on the road and get that momentum going and kind of put some fear in teams with that. While we're obviously getting above 500 on the total wins category. So I'm looking at any kind of motivation, any kind of edge on where you can build that confidence. Again, guys, coaching. Phil Jackson wasn't necessarily an X's and O coach by the terms of what that is. But what Phil was great at is tapping into that brain right here, guys, right here, tapping in there and bringing confidence, calmness. The coach a lot of times is you got to have that right moment where you know how to ignite that player. As much as LeBron, as much as Anthony Davis, as much as D'Angelo Russell, as much as any great player, as much as they are capable of doing what they want to do when they want to do it, that little coaching that you do for them takes them a lot of times even higher. So we want to focus on, let's get this team in a very confident moment, right? You don't want to be like Alan on the chat, who's always talking smack online, but when you ask him to meet you in real life, he flutters away like a little butterfly. So you want to make sure you don't want to do that. And because that's not a way to live life. You don't want to be that guy, especially when it comes to sports. You want to be the guy that walks in that, whoa, okay, we're gonna have to worry about this guy. You don't want to be Allen. No one worries about him. So we're at a situation here, Sean, and I'm gonna ask you a question that I think we've been asking ourselves for pretty much the entire year. Is this going to continue on Friday, or are we going to now have a dud with the stud, and then a dud and a stud and a dud and a stud? So I don't know. You tell me, Sean. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what, Joe? I just off a gut instinct, I'm not feeling too good about it. I'm not feeling too good about it. They have 2 7-footers who play really well, and we only have one. And I think that might end up being the difference, is that you can't ask Anthony Davis to outplay 2 people. He's only one man. He can't do it himself. So I think they're going to be in tough. But like, what's D'Lo's motivation here? Does he have extra motivation because they traded him because he had a bit of a down year, and so he's got extra juice to kind of try and punk them? Because if that's in the air, I would say I would maybe feel a little bit better knowing he's got a chip on his shoulder going into the Target Center. It is the Target Center, right?
I don't think so.
Still the Target Center?
Is it really? Is it the Target Center?
I think it's still the Target Center.
I think it's still the Target Center.
You got the Target World headquarters right there. It better be.
Okay.
Well,
right.
let's.
It hasn't turned into the Mall of America Chocobot Stadium yet, so.
How come you guys aren't on Facebook?
Sorry, I forgot to hook us up there. Yeah, it is the Target Center.
Yeah, so that's not. They haven't really used that as a home advantage. So from that perspective, I'm not too concerned about that, even with a vet team that we got. But I don't know. Something about that game just is tricky.
Minnesota's had our number, and that's my worry. And it's a Friday night game. A lot of times we don't play well on a Friday night game or during the day for some reason. So I'm gonna stay positive. I'm gonna be Laker Tom right now. I'm gonna say they're gonna go in there with something. I don't know what that something is. G, welcome to the show. I hope your driving skills were put to good use here tonight.
No major accidents.
Yeah, that's good. There's been
I don't think.
There's been a lot of people on the chat that have been asking for you and wondering where you are. They're worried about your well-being. what you do every day, how you do it. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? So, let's make everyone happy because, that's what we're here for, guys. We're here to make you happy.
Gerald, how can I donate to this channel? Alan, great to have you here. Unfortunately, we don't have 1,000 subscribers yet. That doesn't allow us to go ahead and take donations or tips as of yet. We're hoping to get to that point. You could always go ahead and just follow us on audio. I know that helps out there as well, but unfortunately, we're not at that stage yet, but we're getting close. We're getting close to 600 subscribers, so we're getting closer. So, Alan, we truly appreciate you offering that. I will say, during the playback, Sean, Joe, and myself, we're hard on Ham. I think this game could have been a 30-point win easily had the right adjustments been made. But you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. The Lakers won. They won by double digits. Austin Reaves got to do the too small to Patrick Beverley, which was very enjoyable. I got to see that on Twitter, so I was very happy about that. And I say right now, okay, we got to finish these games off strong by, like Joe said, all these games have to be won. But you're right, the Minnesota game I think might be the toughest of these games that we have for the rest of the season. I mean, we'll see what happens tonight with them in Phoenix right now. Even if they lose in Phoenix, I think asking the Lakers to go into Minnesota on Friday night with both teams having a day off, that's going to be a tough ask. It's going to be a tough
And
ask.
Russell said his hip feels good, Gerald, so it looks as though that won't linger. He will be available Friday in Minnesota.
I hope that would be the case.
I'm glad you brought that up, Sean. I was gonna bring it up, but you set you threw the right pitch. And again, this is at the eve of the beginning of the baseball season, which is a little bittersweet for me because I'm still upset what happened last year. But you served the right pitch because now I'm looking at D'Angelo Russell, and we saw what happened with Caruso in the first game this week, where he didn't play against the Clippers the next day, but he was miraculously really healthy for the Laker game in LA. So I'm the reason why I'm a little optimistic about this visit to Minnesota is I have a good feeling that D'Angelo Russell is going to play well because he's got a little bit more motivation. So if that's the case, all we really need is AD to just drop 25 and 12, which is his average. LeBron to hopefully play 30 minutes only and do his thing. And I think we come out of Minnesota to win.
I want to go ahead and say right now, though, it was something Mike Trudell put out on Twitter as far as the plus minus for D'Angelo today was plus 35. In his 335 minutes so far as a Laker, he's been a plus 81. So I'll tell you what, whatever he's doing right here, he never did right in Minnesota because he's actually a minus on the plus minus scale for them overall. So whatever's here, it's working. It's working. I thought he was really solid today.
Well, that's good, Gerald, because Sean was a little ahead of you on that one. Okay. Sean had already given us that stat. Sean and Gerald, thank you for that valuable information. I have a love-hate relationship with the plus minus. Although tonight it makes more sense because again, you're talking about a guy who I felt like his usage was. I always kind of go with memory on your performance during the game. I don't remember how good you played sometimes, right? And that's a good sign. So you end up with 17, 20, whatever it is that you have. And I'm like, how the hell did he get so many points? I didn't even notice it. Oh, wow. Plus minus. Wow. I didn't even notice that every time he was in there, the Lakers were, always double digits in the high double digits. So that's kind of how I base the plus minus. But then I also see plus minus on games where somebody wins by 1 point. It says plus 23. I'm like, what does that even mean? So I'm hoping that D'Angelo plays the rest of the season without issue. It's good to know that his hip is, I guess, healthy now because we are desperate for his skill set, especially with a healthy LeBron and a motivated AD. We're going to see what happens on Friday night. That's going to be a big sign of what's to come, I think, too. I think a couple of days off and coming in on Friday, we're gonna find out here what's going on. So the Lakers beat the Bulls tonight, 121-110. Anthony Davis with 38, 10, and 2 blocks. LeBron James had 25, 7 rebounds, and played pretty darn well. Didn't miss a free throw, actually, with 4 for 4. Same thing with Reaves. D'Angelo missed 2 free throws. Anthony Davis missed 3, which was not bad considering he took 14. There was an interesting stat, now that you guys are talking about stats, that came up. What was it, Sean? Was it plus 414?
Plus 413.
413 of the free throw differential in the NBA, and the next team was like in the 160s.
Yeah, the Kings.
So anyone who looks at that stat now is going to go, Laker fan, what are you complaining about the refs? You are 4 times more in free throws. But you made an argument with that, Sean, and I want you to tell the crowd what that argument was. Why are the Lakers, how is it that they are 4 times higher than the second team in free throw differential?
Over 400.
Over 400. Was it 463?
411. 411.
Was 411?
Coming to the game, yeah.
I think the second team was 169, I think, if I remember correctly. So what? Explain this to me, guys. How are we more aggressive? Is that what it is, or are we getting preferential treatment here? What's going on?
Yeah, like a lot of people will isolate that particular differential and try to. It's a Mott and Bailey. That's what people will try and do. It's this Mott and Bailey tactic where they'll try and use the argument, well, because the Lakers have that disparity in differential, you can't really use the argument that somehow they've been cheated out of games because of the disparity in refereeing. You can't make that argument. Well, 2 things can be true at the same time. The Lakers are number 1 because as we went to the season, Gerald often talked about this. One of the only ways this team is really going to be able to create points if they're not a shooting team is in transition and off turnovers. And a lot of the Lakers' opportunities have come with N1s. That's number 1. Number 2 is both AD and LeBron both average between them this year around 12 free throws a game. So add that into the mix. Then you also add into the fact that when you call a foul, you're calling a foul. It doesn't matter who's playing. It doesn't matter. The colors shouldn't matter. Now we know at the end of the game they don't swallow the whistle only for the home team, but that's besides the point. The point is that the Lakers have a disparity in the differential because they create more opportunities than the 29 other teams because they're just not. They didn't have the shooting. And
but you also got to remember that it's also due to the fact that they were so reliant in the first half of the season on the transition game.
Yeah, they were so reliant on their transition game that they've been top 5 in the league in the NBA in points in the paint. And that's even after, as Gerald has talked about, their struggles in transition post the trades. They're still managing to be in the top 5 in points in the paint. So 2 things can be true at once. Yes, there is a free throw disparity that favors the Lakers. And yes, the officiating has been terrible. But that's not to take away the fact that there have been bad calls this year. We've experienced a lot of them. And the fact that this stat now is going to be trying to be used to isolate the fact that Laker fans are bitches, which we're not. We have legitimate grievances this year. But like Gerald said, people will now use that statistic as a weapon against us.
Gerald, your retort, sir.
Nothing to retort. People are going to throw it in our face. But you even saw it tonight, Joe. I mean, how many times did Austin Reaves and LeBron get whacked in the arm? Even if the 400+ margin free throw advantage, we still don't get the calls when they're fairly, should be called.
So there was some anger in the San Diego State Creighton game where their top, like Mad Dog Russo, Chris Mad Dog Russo, was pretty much dedicated an entire show on how that was a terrible call at the end of the game, that allowed the San Diego State to hit a free throw with a little over a second left to win the game. So if it was after that game that I finally kind of went a different route with this refereeing thing, and it's probably why nothing's being done about it. Because that's the why that I keep asking. Why is nothing being done about it? That game made me realize why. You have a player who is visibly elbowing and forearming a guy's hip in the air. Okay? You are complaining that the game should not have ended that way. It happened in the Super Bowl too. And the guy even said, I held him. He held him twice. But because you're all into your feelings and you wanted this Cinderella ending, you now have to just completely set aside the rules. It's a freaking foul. What do you want the ref to do at that point? I'm going to support that guy now. Not because it went my way. And again, it didn't go my way in the Philly game either. I had no skin in that game. But it was a foul. He held him twice. If he doesn't hold him, guess what? You probably go, Jalen Hurts gets a chance to try to win the game too. It's not our fault. It's not the ref's fault. It was a foul. So that was the same situation here. It was the same situation with State. I'm like, dude, the guy visibly pushed him while he was in the air. What do you want the ref to do? So in support of that, either they're getting damned whether they do, and they're getting damned whether they don't. So how do you solve that problem? I don't know, because you can't go shoot every talk show host into not saying anything. Everybody's got their own subjective view on things, okay? But it's really stupid and idiotic. I mean, if I had a chance to talk to Mad Dog and say, I remember I was listening on the show because I really love Mad Dog. I think he's great. Even when he's wrong, he's great, which is pretty much like 40% of the time. And I'm like, Chris, I would have been like, Chris, what do you see? You guys are doing it both ways. That's not fair. And that's one of the things he says. That's not fair. That's not fair. No, that's not fair. So I would have done the same thing, right? So we need to start figuring out what it is that we need. Do you guys want this foul or that foul? So you know how you solve that problem? Just call the effing foul if it's a foul. And if somebody gets on you for it, F them. Okay? It was a foul. It's right there. It's right there. Just call the damn thing. It's a foul. So that's kind of where I stand on that. And whether the Lakers have gotten an advantage or not, again, guys, you have to watch the games. If a team has got 40 free throws and you have 10, right? The Phoenix game is a good example. All they were doing was shooting jump shots. That's all Booker and Paul were doing. They were shooting jump shots. They weren't going to the hole regularly. Of course they're not going to have as many free throws when the other team was constantly getting to the hole. There's a difference. There is a difference. This is not both teams, and you guys know you've seen this before, where both teams are going up and down, and only one team is getting all the calls. That's a visible, that's easy to spot. Why are you calling this one? And then you'll see an aggressive foul one side, and then an aggressive foul on the other side. And the first thing I say, if you guys have ever paid attention to what I'm watching, okay, you guys are going to let them play? Cool. I don't care if it was a foul because they just didn't call the other foul on the other side. I'm like, all right, so they're going to let him play? Cool. Guys, just understand what's going on. It's just like, a baseball player, or an offensive lineman who's doing some of this stuff and gets called for a foul in one game and in another game it's not. You have to adjust to the officiating sometimes. That's part of the game. Mm-hmm. So we are I wouldn't say that that the free throw differential is an advantage for the Lakers. I'm not saying that. I mean, that's just not the case. It's a matter of how they're playing the game. If they got a true center who actually goes to the hole, and it's not an accident that he has more free throw attempts than anybody on the team because that's where he resides. And you can only stop AD when he's on by fouling, especially right now with his free throw struggles.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And again, that you isolate that kind of statistic. So what? So that advantage has led the Lakers to have a 38-38 record. Doesn't seem to me like that has posed an advantage for them. You know, if somehow they were 56-20, some people might have cause to say, that's interesting, but that's not the case. That's not the case. It's not like this isn't it's not a syllogism, Gerald. This isn't A plus B equals C. That this dog don't hunt like that. It's an isolated statistic that someone's pulled out to try and de-emphasize the fact that the officiating, particularly when it comes to a lot of Laker games this year, has been absolutely atrocious, abysmal, bad.
They even gave up the lead here today, which was very disappointing.
Yeah. So they had over a I think it was a 13. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they were plus 13 on the boards tonight, and they still managed to get a net zero advantage of points in the paint. That's another concern. Even though you're killing teams in free throws, you're getting outshot from beyond the arc, and you're potentially facing, a rebound deficit, and you're still not able to make that up, even with that big differential.
Absolutely. So I want to mention also as well that we called it beforehand when we said, AD in front of the Chicago home crowd is always going to perform. So that's something that I think that goes without standing. Let's see if they can take this momentum into Minnesota, because if they can play like this in Minnesota, they've got a great chance of victory and a great chance to go ahead and move up the standings. They're in 8th as of when we're speaking now. They jumped ahead of, in the tiebreaker, New Orleans, and they're still ahead of Oklahoma City, who just barely won against Detroit today. So, yeah, hopefully we can get even further up the standings. Joe, do you see a successful evening on Friday?
I'm basing it off the fact that you have some ex-Wolves that are going to be playing this game, so don't be surprised if Beasley maybe gets out of his funk there. Vanderbilt, no matter what you want to call it, when you get traded, there is a little bit of, I want to stick it to the old team feeling. So my hope is that AD plays AD ball, LeBron plays AD ball, and then those three have a little extra for the Timberwolves. If that's the case, we have a very good shot at not only winning, but pretty much dominating the game. My concern, not concern, my focus will be on, it is now, you got your loss out of the way against Chicago a few nights ago. You have to win out. You win out, I strongly believe you will get the 6th seed at the very least. So that's what I'm focused on. If you don't, then it's going to depend on, will it be 1 or 2 losses? 1 might get you out of that 6th spot. It might actually put you in the play-in. So that's why it's very important that the Lakers win out the rest of the way, and they're healthy right now, other than Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba, I think, might be back in 2 weeks? Maybe a week?
Yeah, about a week.
So we'll still get him before the season's over, and he's just added depth so that it's maybe a little bit easier to send someone in with some height and at least some distraction versus your favorite player being put in, Wenyen Gabriel. So I just want a full team. If you tell me that we can win the rest of the games and we have a healthy Mo Bamba coming in, I know he's not that great of a player, but at least he's a body that can sometimes give you something. And that's really all we need. We need someone to come off the bench that has some size, some width, and can actually maybe shoot a few shots. That will benefit us. and at least spell our main guys. If we can get everyone healthy and everyone focused, then we have a shot to see what this team can do. Because we might start getting out of this anomaly situation with the new NBA. We might start seeing a low seed dominate a series for all we know. We did see it a little bit last year when Dallas destroyed the number 1 seed. You don't usually see that in the NBA. You see them lose every now and then early, but you don't see them get clowned like that. So maybe parity in the NBA, maybe the new fast-paced, wussified game will benefit in the. It doesn't matter where you sit in the standings, as long as you're going with the right momentum, you might have a chance to go all the way.
Well, there you go. Great thoughts right there from Sean and from Joe. Chat room has been awesome so far. So guys have been really knocking it out of the park here in the chat room. A lot of great comments right there. Guys, just a great victory. I enjoy it. It's nice. It gives us a sigh of relief when the Lakers really end up doing pretty well. Again, that fourth quarter to start off with was a really nice run.
Yes, it was. It was, Gerald. They finally decided they were going to up the ante, and instead of just dealing with a 12-point lead, they decided to, let's get it up to 15 and then 17. It got up to 18. But I'll take the win, man. But like you said, it could have been a lot larger than it was.
Well, I think part of this it's happening almost every game to where, is this the norm? Is this just what the NBA is? Is it really Darvin Ham's coaching? I know the rotation thing is for sure, but this losing leads, is this just part of the culture of the NBA now? Because this is not just a Laker thing that I've seen it at. I've seen it in all teams. I'm wondering when someone's going to put a kibosh on it, because the Lakers have not had one single fourth quarter where they could put both AD and LeBron out for the entire fourth, unless my memory hasn't served me well. Have they ever this season sat LeBron and AD the entire fourth quarter? I don't think they have. That right there proves that the NBA has massively changed, because that's where players would get their rest. That's where players would get their rest. The good teams, they always had maybe 5 to 10 games throughout the year where they didn't even play the fourth quarter. Imagine the stress that they're not mentally and physically they're going through. They're actually only playing sometimes maybe 2.5 quarters every game for 10 games. That might be something to think about in terms of what's going on in the NBA and why maybe there's more injuries. Again, I'm always asking why. If there's a logical reason, I want to know. Is it that? I'd like to know. So Lakers win tonight in Chicago, 121-110. Anthony Davis with 38. James with 25. I think our best bench guy because our bench was absolutely abysmal today.
Yeah.
I think our best bench guy was Schroeder, and he had a negative 14 plus minus. But when you have the starters doing what they're doing, you don't need a bench. That's the reason why they're bench players. Bench players are supposed to supplant the starters. But if the starters are going to play like gangbusters, then that's what you roll with. So I was very happy with the performance tonight, other than the second quarter. Hopefully we can tail this into Minnesota and smack them around, because they've been whooping our butts the last few years. I'm ready for a little bit of payback on that. But Gerald, so you had a chance to were you listening to the game while you were driving, or were you watching on your phone like I do while you're driving?
I'm not going to say which one. I do have playback.tv there that I actually have right there in the seat. I don't watch it, but I listen to you guys while we're playing. And then, of course, I got when you guys talked about, I was actually on the road when Austin Reaves did the too small thing on Patrick Beverley. So I got a chance to check it out on Twitter. It was something like that happens yes, Twitter is a great place to go for once, and you get a chance to check it out in like 15 different angles set up there. So yeah, it was good to see that happen. But yeah, good victory for the Lakers. I know we're going to be back tomorrow late night with the Lakers fast break. Looking forward to chatting it up there in regards to what's going on. Then Friday morning, get your Minnesota pregame in there with Mr. Magic Man himself. Got the coffee ready right there.
Mm-hmm.
You getting the brew ready? Do you have enough of a bag of coffee for Friday
I'm
morning?
good. I'm good. We made a Costco run, so I'm good for McCafe for like the next 6 weeks.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So Jim, you're asking, do you think Sacramento wants any piece of the Lakers? That's a great question.
I think they're just going to be happy to be in the playoffs to
Mm-hmm.
get to the
If
playoffs.
that's the case, that's dangerous because that means they're not going to be focused on beating the Lakers. Here's what I think is going to happen. If the Lakers come in and win game one, then they're going to get scared. Then they're going to be like, oh, crap. And then every talking head out there is going to start talking about how the Lakers are on a championship run. Then the Lakers will lose game two. And then everybody will be like, is LeBron going to retire? Where's Bronny going to be drafted? So LeBron will get traded there. So I want you guys to get ready for the most bipolar analysts or analyzing of the Lakers after the Lakers make the playoffs. When I say make the playoffs, that's after the play-in, should they make the play-in. I don't count the play-in as a playoff. To me, it's one of those tournaments in Hawaii at the beginning of the NCAA season. Like, it doesn't mean anything. So I want to give you guys a heads up of what's happening so that we could talk about it in, let's say, a month. Okay, get ready for that. Should the Lakers make the playoffs and play Sacramento or Memphis, more than likely it's going to be either Memphis or Sacramento. I mean, they could play, I guess, Denver if they really crap themselves here in the next week or so. But I'm gonna guess that I think if I had a gun to my head and I had to pick a seed, I think they're gonna get the 7th seed. They'll do the play-in. They get the 7th seed and they'll play Memphis. They win game one in any of those games, it's going to be a Laker fest times 10, worse than a Cowboys take during the offseason. Every other week, there's a take about the Cowboys. I don't know who the hell gives a crap about the Cowboys. Still can't figure that out. A team that hasn't won jack squat in a quarter century. I mean, not even an NFC Championship game. The fact that they talk about this team so much is mind-boggling. Who are these Cowboy fans around this world that give two craps about what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason? I don't get it. The Lakers have at least brought 6 championships in this century alone. The century's only been 23 years. So what happens? We'll have to see.
Sounds like a plan, my friends. But again, tomorrow night, late night with the Lakers fast break. Friday, Magic Man in the morning.
We need someone to. I think we need to get a voice that says that. So we're gonna need to put some. We're gonna need to put some production value in that.
See, okay, somebody asked to give us a tip and how could they send us money. There you go. That's what we need. We need to go ahead and get some money going.
Jar.
Yeah, tip. Well, you could do that again, but you got to reach the certain number of subscribers.
Well, yes, thank you guys who want to donate to the show. We all Gerald definitely appreciates that. He's the head producer here, but you will have a chance to actually do that. And what is it? We're on 534 now.
534.
So that's
close by the day.
So 76. So we're 476 away. No, yeah, 476 subscribers away from you guys being allowed to throw us cash.
66, but don't tell them.
Is it 66? Oh yeah, that is 66. Sorry.
Joe's trying to squeeze a couple of our subscribers.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, actually, no, I am. I'd like to get to 1,000. I'd prefer to get to 1,000 by tomorrow, but again, we're building this thing organically. There's no fake subscribers like a lot of these shows. I won't name any names. I'll try to keep myself from that. But we're building ours. We're building it from the grassroots, as they say. I don't know what they say in Canada, Sean. What's the definition? What's the equivalency of grassroots in Canada?
The grassroots, Joe.
Well, is it well good? They do that. See, Canadians and Americans, I don't know who fronts there on that us being different. I don't think we're that much different. I went to Canada. I didn't notice anything different, to be honest with you. So I don't know if it might be different if you live there. Who speak? Do people really like? Do you speak French, Sean?
Oui, mon ami.
Oh, you do. Now, in school, do you guys have half and half French English lessons, or is it English primarily?
No, sir. There, you can. It is taught in the schools, but there are French immersion schools where you can go to where you learn the Quebecois.
The Quebecois.
Mm.
Okay, Gerald, you ever been to Canada?
I will be going later this year for the first time.
What are you doing there? What are you going there for?
I'm gonna go check out Vancouver because we're gonna go to my son's practice.
Oh yeah, he's
in Seattle, so we're gonna go just right up from there. Spend a couple days in Vancouver.
I've
Vancouver.
I've heard great things about Vancouver. It might be one of the places. I mean, I was there for a very short amount of time on a connection flight. Unfortunately, I've heard that it's gone the way of some of the big cities in the West Coast in terms of its cleanliness.
Well, we'll have to find that out.
So give us the 411. Let us know if that's true. I could only imagine how bad it is over there, considering it gets cold over there, at least in LA and in San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco gets cold, but it's not like Vancouver.
You know what, Joe? It doesn't snow as much in Vancouver as it does everywhere else in Canada. So that's why it's very alluring for street people. Because you could it's like LA. You could basically grab a sleeping bag and sleep under an underpass for 350 days out of the year.
Wow, that's pretty darn good. Might be why I considered Vancouver as a place I'd move to if I had to go to Canada. Number one, I wanted to stay on the West Coast time zone because I love watching football at 10 a.m. in the morning. Most people don't, but I do. I love watching Monday Night Football where the game finishes and I can go party afterwards, whereas East Coast people have to go to bed. I got that lesson when I was in New York watching a Laker game, right? So the Laker game started at 10:30, right? I'm at the ESPN bar in Manhattan, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm in New York, baby, and nothing sleeps here, right? So midnight hits, and it's halftime, and they're closing up. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? The game's still on. So I have to freaking watch the second half on my phone. This is years ago. So, yeah, it's interesting what fantasy versus reality is. Fantasy versus reality is always they're not really exclusive. They're just not. I should say they're exclusive, I should say. And, but again, happy trip there, Gerald. Sean, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight. And then Gerald, allowing me to host the show. I do enjoy hosting the show every now and then, just because it allows me to kind of get back to the rhythm and the old ways of doing the show like I used to on the radio. So I want to thank you for letting me do the show tonight. And the Lakers win, which always is a good thing. And for everyone out there, Scarlet Blue, Alan, Zangerstein, Jim Howe, Danny, all of our great.
A lot of these people were with us during the playback.
Yes.
Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break.
Yes. And we can't thank you enough, folks, for being on playback, because playback is a little bit more raw. And I haven't been able to show my face on there lately because, guys, I have a very beautiful TV and I like to watch the game on there instead of sitting on a chair in my office watching it on this little thing. Sometimes I just prefer to sit there and I want to be Nick Molina. Nick Molina has the right idea. Just my voice, kind of a little bit of a prep on what we're going to do later, right? It's kind of like a little teaser. Does that work, guys? Does it work? No, maybe. No? Okay. So we enjoy the verbiage, and then of course I enjoy watching on my screen, and of course I'm always trying to align the game with my TV so that I'm not ahead of it too. But for Gerald Glassford, Sean Grice, and hopefully the rest of the crew down the road, everyone says hello. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. We will see you tomorrow and also Friday for the Minnesota Timberwolves on what hopefully will be the beginning of a 5-game road trip of W's. So
Actually, we've already started the road trip of W's.
Yeah, it's going to need to say 4 more W's.
Okay.
To be success. So we've got 1. We need 4 more.
Okay.
So, anyways, everyone have a great night. If anybody has any comments after we leave, you guys know who to email. And for those of you who want to
put it right below in the comments.
Yes, you can make the comment here, but I know I haven't been pumping up my Twitter because I rarely use it. But for those of you who want to comment, ask me any questions or anything like that, guys, go to Joe Soro LFB. That's Lakers Fast Break initials. And I'll go ahead and start doing the whole Twitter thing because everybody loves Twitter for some reason, especially Gerald. I don't like Twitter. I think there are more slime balls on there, but they do sometimes have good information. So anyways, everyone have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow for some of you on our pre-game show. But for those of you who can't make it, we'll definitely see you on Friday and hopefully another win in Minnesota. So everyone, good night and stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.